This training is of the utmost importance. It's vital that we don't waste time.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the fourth and shortest season of Demon Slayer, the Hashira Training Arc.
And this arc focuses on Tanjiro and his friends going through the most intense and brutal and hilarious training from the Hashira, each more demanding than the last. And the arc is fantastic and hilarious, but until we hit the last 2 episodes, it's all fun.
Right?
But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, for occasionally some future podcasts and little pause videos.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us, subscribing, sharing our videos, and commenting. We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
This was a weird season because you had only 7 regular size episodes, and then you had a 1-hour special ending it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of disappointing because you really wanted to see more. But what became even more disappointing is how we're going to get the remainder of the series. But we won't talk about that yet. So, as we mentioned, it follows Tanjiro, Manjiro,
Ganpachiro, Kamaboko,
and them training with 3 more Hashiras to get to know better. We get to know Obanai.
Mm-hmm.
We get to know Shinagawa.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Tengen was the very first one.
We already knew him. We just had to see
right.
him again.
Mitsuri. Okay. And Mitsuri, a little more her, which was actually hilarious the way they set up her training. And Muichiro.
And last but not least, I got to think of his name. The
Stone Hashira.
Gyomi,
yeah.
So yes, we got to meet the rest. And their stories are just as compelling as the others. And the training was very interesting. What I really liked is how you got to see each Hashira's specialty in how they have earned the title.
Yeah.
And what they contribute to the Demon Slayer Corps.
Right.
By way of that talent they've received. Some of them were born with it. Some were born with it and already was at a top tier. And some had to develop those talents.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got some that, well, Ginyu isn't a Hashira. He was trying to be one. However, I'm going to mention him because he does the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
he
his weapon,
eats either the weapons or parts of the demon to ingest their powers and use them.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of confused because it's never explained in the manga nor the anime
how
it came about that
He
talent.
just has this ability and then that's it. And considering how crazy it was during the Surface Village arc with his powers and stuff when he had it, it's a surprise that he didn't become a Hashira sooner, but maybe because they work differently from that.
Or because his older brother, who sees him as tiny and small, didn't want him to be a Hashira.
Yes. If you don't know, there's a little fan art that was going around for Demon Slayer where they did it in the manga style. And what was hilarious is you see him be just raging and loud and angry towards his brother. And if you read the manga, you already know. So they end up putting this extra little post from the manga where, it's that he yells at Genya, says he's not good enough and all this stuff. He's trying to run away because of the danger of being a Hashira. But in his mind, you see all the stuff Genya does with the gun and everything. And in his mind, Genya is this tiny little helpless thing. He has weak arms, weak legs, tiny feet. He's like the size of a child. He's helpless. And we can't let him go anywhere.
That is one of the funniest things ever. Yes, he sees him as that way. And you find out in the end, that's how he's always seen him. Regardless of the abilities he's had, pretty badass abilities, he's my baby brother. So quickly we'll go through the episodes. The first one, to defeat Muzan Kabutsuji, we got to see Sanemi and Obanai on a mission to rescue a woman who's been kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see I keep saying it because their badass abilities.
Yes.
Just how talented they are, why they're Hashira, and you get to see them work in tangent, and Muichiro also join them.
Right.
And you get to see that they already have a relationship you really didn't know if you haven't read the manga.
Right.
But they're already friends.
Right. And they're a little more open now that Muichiro has his memories back and everything. So you're not just seeing him be sort of stoic all the time. You're actually seeing him have fun doing the training and talking with them.
Yes. The second episode, Wada Hashira Giyu Tomioka's Pain.
Mm-hmm.
That one was fun as well as informative and sad. We learned more about Sabuto and knowing that he was befriended by Sabuto. They were close in age. They were friends and they're like big brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm seeing despite the fan art. And how much it impacted him when he passed.
Right.
He wanted to give up. He didn't want to keep going. And then his jacket that he wears is half his own cloth and half Sabuto's.
Right.
Which is like a constant
reminder
and
yeah.
a constant tribute to his friend.
Yeah.
That was really touching, and it was absolutely loved. The internet blew up.
Yes.
Because it's absolutely a beautiful story. And you get to know more about Giyu because you really don't know too much about him even in the manga. And then we get to see his relationship more with Tanjiro, trying to encourage him and get him to eat and to be a part of the training he doesn't want to be.
Right. And yes, that's where all of the humor came from for this episode. They said, "Oh, don't stop, trying to, to help him." And Tanjiro took it as, "Don't stop bothering him. I told you to leave him alone." "Hey, Mr. Giyu! Hey, Mr. Giyu! Hey, Mr. Giyu!" He said, "What? Are you following me everywhere?" He wouldn't leave him alone. He said, "Fine, I will do it."
It was funny and sweet and adorable, and you really got to see how much Tanjiro really loves all the Hashira and his friends.
And so it's kind of like he has another family now with them, because he had a huge family before the demons attacked, so it's kind of like he was getting that back, being by all these people and training with them.
Yes. In the third episode, fully recovered Tanjiro joins the Hashira Training. So we get to see him reunited with Tengen and his wives, and it's hilarious. And it's funny, and Tengen is hot.
It's
hot,
funny.
hot.
It's
this
hilarious.
Man has an eye patch in one arm.
He's
and
one
he's
arm.
Still freaking hot.
I thought
and
that was
he's still
hilarious.
Freaking powerful. And
They
the internet
lost
blew
an
up yet
arm.
again. It was like every episode the internet blew up because of something.
Right. It was hilarious. It's like, and someone said, "Wait, he's retired, right? And he lost an eye. And he lost an arm," right? And they're showing him beating that daylights out of the students during the training. It's like, it didn't even matter.
And then at first it looked like he was being mean, but then his wives told Tanjiro that he had told them they couldn't eat until they finished some part of the training. And they said he hasn't eaten either.
Okay.
And and then I love the part where the wives say, "Oh, Tanjiro, you look like a man now." You couldn't help but laughing. It was so funny. It's like they're like, "Oh, this little boy, he looks like a man now." And it's so cute how they all look at him, kind of like he's their son.
I guess
they
so,
didn't have Tengen as well. So it was just a fun episode and a sweet episode and a hot episode with
It's
Tengen.
Hilarious.
Woo! Okay. Episode number 4, to bring a smile to one's face. Yes, we got to see Rascal's favorite Hashira Muichiro.
Yes.
And a little more of his training and his relationship with his favorite person in the whole world, Tanjiro.
Yes. And actually, the most hilarious thing about this is you see how he does take the training still seriously with the trainees. That doesn't change regardless of what happened in the other season, getting his memories back. He's still hard on them. He's still going to make sure that they keep their guard up. And he says throughout there that they can't just slack off or back off. They can't not pay attention. They have to keep their eyes focused on everything, deliver harder. So it looked like his stuff was about being swift, but still being hard on the attack, so that way they can defeat the enemy quicker. And then they're all just being brutally hurt and in training on the floor crying. And then Tanjiro, "Oh, hi, Tanjiro!" and mind you, these guys have probably been training for weeks on end, close to a month. And then Tanjiro gets done in 5 days. He's like, "Oh, you can go now. What has only been 5 days? Oh, you did everything.
Sure?
And you've done everything I asked." And then a few of them ask, "Hey, can we go too? We've been here for weeks." And then he turns around and says, "What the heck are you talking about? You haven't done anything. Get back to training." He said, "Why are you so different with us?" And he immediately goes back to being stoic with everyone else. They always make this joke. He's stoic with everyone else. And then Tanjiro, he's happy as can be.
So episode number 5, I Even Ate Demons. And we get to see Mitsuri's training, her flexibility training.
Oh my gosh.
And you get to see Genya attempting to talk to Sanemi again and gain his acknowledgement. And both parts of that episode are pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. So Mitsuri's training and flexibility, they all wear pink leotards. Mm-hmm. And they're manly. And they're less manly once she finished stretching them.
Yeah, yes, and she is funny because she gives them, including Tanjiro, this big meal of pancakes and sweets and things for breakfast and wants them full of energy. And then when it gets started, it's like, oh, you're not doing it right. You have to do it all the way. I was okay, I'll show you. And they have to do a split sitting down, and then there's like cries of agony that echoes out like all of Japan once they do it. And they're just like, oh my gosh, this is horrifying.
But they end up doing it. So if anyone gives you a stack of pancakes and is very sweet to you, watch out. You know what's going on.
Right.
And then Genya again attempts to reconnect with Sanemi. Doesn't work out well. But Tanjiro, as usual, comes to his defense. And then he enlists Zenitsu to take him away.
Right.
So that he doesn't get hurt. Because it looks like Sanemi is going to hurt both he and Tanjiro. Well, all three of them.
All three of them.
Genya, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu.
Yeah,
and this is when I learned, after all these years, and don't laugh at me too hard, that my beloved, with Sanemi is voiced by the beloved voice actor of my beloved Satoru Gojo.
Kaji-ten.
And I was like, all this time, how did I not realize this? So it was
just because he's kind of angry all the time.
Yeah. But that was really a great episode.
Yes,
and again, the internet blew up.
Right, and that's where that page came from, seeing his little brother as the tiny little helpless thing who can't take care of himself, so he can't do anything. And his little heart's like, no, don't let him go off there.
So episode 6, The Strongest of the Demon Corps, focuses on Guillaume's backstory, which is really sad, bittersweet, and very informative. And we get to see Inosuke, who we haven't seen in a while as well.
Oh, yes. And this one ended up being hilarious in the beginning and then got to Guillaume's backstory. First half is that he caught up with Zenitsu and Inosuke's training. A lot of it had to do with pushing a boulder by themselves or concentration underneath the waterfall, and Inosuke passed out. And the whole thing is being funny because Zenitsu's like freaking out the entire time. His eyes about to come out of his sockets. He's screaming and yelling. It's too cold. It's too hard. He's doing this. He's gonna die. And Tanjiro's gotta pull him back and get him back under there so they can train. And it's absolutely hilarious, but they are getting the training done. And then with the second half and then second episode...
Well, that's episode 7. So Hashira Guillaume Himijima.
Right.
Where we see the tragic backstory.
Right. So it ends up actually doing a good setup of showing how their training is, how they interact with each other, and the
boulder.
Other...
That's a nice boulder.
Boulder, yes.
I like that boulder.
It's a nice boulder. And with that boulder, he ended up talking to the other trainees. And they actually get a little bit of development throughout there because they're being inspired by Tanjiro. And Tanjiro takes care of them with the rice balls. They call him the mom of the group. And it's hilarious because these people were just like, these guys were just background characters for a while who only were getting caught and trapped in things in the beginning. And then now in here, people are actually beginning to like the little individual background characters like Murata, who ended up having a bigger role in here, who was just a background character.
Yes. And
people actually ended up liking him interact with Tanjiro. And they all look like they're supposed to be in background. Nothing about them sticks out. And it's so hilarious.
And don't forget in this episode, we also find out Muzan has the Biwa Demon Nakami.
Yes.
Locating the Demon Slayers. And at this point,
yes.
she has located 60% of them.
Yeah.
Which, of course, was not good.
Right.
And then with the Stone Hashira's backstory, you find out how he came to be the way he is.
Right.
And it's really sad. One of the,
yeah,
the most saddest backstories there are. Before we get to number 8, the Hashira Unite, I want to mention that, I don't know if any of you have realized the exemplary voice acting talents of this entire cast. They all deserve a collective Oscar.
Right.
Because the emotion that comes through when they're hilarious, the voices, when they're being pensive and serious, All of this comes through in their voice acting. Every single solitary character is voice exemplary. They deserve a collective Oscar. I mean everyone.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I just wanted to give that shout out because there's not a bad performance within this anime.
Right.
Everyone is stellar.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for your performances. You have made watching this anime a joy for millions, hundreds of millions, or tens of millions of people around the world.
Yes.
And I pray and hope you get tons more work, tons more jobs, tons more starring MCs and anime and so much more. As Phoenix says.
Bravo!
So now to episode 8. And in this one, you find out more about Muzan's role in Kaguya's illness. We see more with his family and the sacrifice they're getting ready to make.
And Muzan's cold entrance.
And you get to see the active demon slayers, including Genya, Inosuke, Murata, Kano, Zenitsu, who are transported and trapped inside the castle by the end.
Yes.
But yes, before we get to that, Kaguya and his family, you find out they're getting ready to make the ultimate sacrifice to stop Muzan.
Yes. Which was the sad part about the episode. And unfortunately, is when all of the fun of the season stops. This one is played pretty much seriously the whole time. You have one joke here or there, but it's played straight the entire time because it is leading up to the final arc of the series. And it even ends with everybody being captured and thrown into the Infinity Castle, even when they weren't nearby and weren't even in the same field. All of them got sent, even ones that were miles away, all got sent to Infinity Castle. So Muzan was planning on ending the Hashira line in one night. Yes. And as you mentioned, Muzan's approach to Kaguya's, it's not a castle, is estate, I'd say estate.
Estate. And that nearly broke the internet.
Yeah.
Because Rascal said, we've been seeing this in the outro all this time and didn't know what it was.
And
And his slow walk to Kaguya.
Yes.
And some people tried to make light of it, but no, it was brilliant. He had his hands in his pocket. He was smooth criminal. He was walking slowly there, and they slowed it down. He was still walking slowly, no rush. But the way they did it was so theatrical, dramatic, and epic. And you were sitting up screaming over this man, this D-man, just walking to Kaguya's estate.
Yes.
It was impactful, it was epic, it was brilliantly done. And then he said he didn't expect him to look as bad as he looked.
Right.
And you don't know, unless you've read the manga, what Kaguya and two of the children and the wife are planning to do.
Right.
Muzan, you're not sure what he's thinking. Yes, you did say what he had planned, but you didn't know that in the beginning.
Right.
What he was thinking, was he just going to leave and walk away and continue to try to take out the demon slayers? Was he going to ridicule them and make fun and say, hey, I found your lair. I can get to you anytime I want.
Yes.
But that him coming there really did demonstrate he could have taken them all out at any time.
Yep.
Now, Kaguya did give him an invitation to come. But that, what did I say her name was?
I'm sorry. Oh, I heard it once. So.
Nakami. She had put those eyes out and had found them, and Sanemi was the only one who had picked up on one of the eyes, crushed it, and knew they'd been compromised.
Right.
So he could have come before actually coming there, and he could have sent the others to wipe them out. So we're grateful that he didn't.
Yes.
But this is where everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket. And the unfortunate part is there will be no more episodes airing on Crunchyroll because now there's going to be a 3-movie finale, and you've got to go pay at the theater if you want to see what happens and not just read it.
Yes. And
so what do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comments, because we're going to tell you how we feel about this development.
Yes. And for me, it's like, it's a sort of slap in the face, because it's one thing, you read the manga, you can get it anytime and read the ending. But if you only watch the anime and you've been on this journey from the beginning, and you can't see the finale unless you go to the theater and there's no other option, it's just like, you literally can't finish it. You will be spoiled. You would have to read the manga or just be spoiled. if you can't get to the theater, and that would piss people off. It's not even done like with MHA or Jujutsu Kaisen or heck even My Little Pony, where they have stories and events that take place in the middle or as prequels, and they're not huge detriments to the story, so you could just go in any time. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to rush to the theater, and when you could see it on DVD or streaming or whatever, you could take your time. This is the end of the series, and you can't see it when you want or with everybody else unless you go to the theater. Either you cannot go or can't afford or have no idea how to get there.
It's almost an insult to the fans, and I'll explain what I mean. You shouldn't have to go pay at a theater to see the end of a series that you have stuck with for 4 seasons.
On TV.
You've helped make the money. You've helped make it one of the top anime and manga in the world. And then someone at the studio decides, hey, we're going to max out our money-making capabilities. We're going to make them go pay at the theater. And otherwise, they're not going to see it. Now, there's a possibility that a year later or even years later, they will end up on Crunchyroll. Mm-hmm. But who wants to see the ending of it years later after they maxed out making all their money?
Look at Toonami. Look how it took them to get the other two arcs, and we're at the end of the series, and they're just getting to them.
So it's almost like they're not appreciating the fans, and it's unfortunate to see that. And the last thing I want to mention about that is that has anyone else noticed, like we have, that Crunchyroll is no longer getting the theater movies on their streaming service? Yeah. The last one we got was Suzume.
Yes, that's it.
And that was over a year ago. None of the movies that are in theaters are being put on Crunchyroll anymore. And I remember when Funimation bought out Crunchyroll, or
Crunchyroll bought out Funimation.
Thank you. And there were people saying, you don't understand how bad this is. You're going to end up seeing just how bad a decision this was, how it's going to affect the West being able to see anime and watch series. It's a really bad move. And this is one of those bad moves clearly they were thinking of. Yeah. Because you shouldn't have to go to the movies to be able to continue watching an anime.
Right.
And if this is successful, that means the other series and the other studios are going to copy, because it's all about making money now. And we're all going to be in trouble.
Yes.
I personally don't want to have to go to the theater just to see an anime series or to finish it. I want that to be an option. And I want to be able to buy the movie in a physical form if I don't want to go to a theater. And unfortunately, It looks like they may be making a turn in a wrong direction.
Yeah.
For anime lovers, otaku, all over the world, we may be in big trouble.
Yeah.
So if you've seen Demon Slayer Season 4, the Hashira Training Arc, let us know in the comments. If you haven't, you're missing out. Get on Crunchyroll and watch it. I don't know if it's going to be on Netflix this year. So far, we haven't heard anything.
It could change by the time you see this.
Yeah, the first 3 seasons are. Hopefully, it will go to Netflix. And if you've got Netflix and not Crunchyroll, you'll be able to see it. But you're missing out if you haven't seen it. Watch it, because this is going to be the last way you get to see Demon Slayer for a heck of a long time, possibly forever, without going to the theater.
Yes. And if you all don't already subscribe for updates and weekly videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining, subscribing, sharing, commenting. You know you are specials. We appreciate you so much. And thank you for supporting us.
Yes.
We really love you.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching. Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.